All right, so continuing. So what's the basic process here? Same as it was for the landscape, except now it's on figurative content. So what did I do first to the mustache? I did image adjustments, levels, color balance, and hue saturation. Then I took the step I'm on right now, the eraser at 100% opacity, 0% hardness under the brush settings, fairly large, and I'm just erasing the rough, hard edge where I rough cut it out, right? But I'm not blending with that 100% eraser because it's too soft. Instead, once I get rid of those hard edges, like so, then I can go to lower opacities with my eraser. And I can blend with multiple passes like this. And that's going to help the most. And I'm using a tablet with the pressure sensitive setting turned on, which is this in Photopea. And Alexia, did you try it on your laptop with this checked in Photopea? So it's one of the tool options for a brush. That's what gives you the pressure sensitivity with the tablet, because even if you just plug it in, that might work. Because those are pretty basic components. It's just you would definitely need to install the driver for the tablet before you could use it with Photoshop or something with the device. All right, so you can see this has helped blending in this mustache, all these soft edges of this hair with whatever they overlap. Okay, next, what's underneath that is this horse jaw. And maybe I want to keep shaping this mustache a little bit differently. Make sure you know what you're erasing from. Yeah, so I think I want it about there. So it looks like there's hair coming from all sides of it. Okay, next. What are the other components? That's good. I've already blended the ears pretty well. So I can work on this hard edge here, first with 100% opacity. And then I get to work on the body. So I'm really close. And I'm not worried about the outside edges. These are all called internal edges, right? Like the ears from the head here to the inside of the ear, from the eyes to what the eyes are sitting on. You know, all these are internal edges. The exterior edges I'm going to worry about a little bit later. Just more productive to make sure I've got all these internal edges first. All right, that's why I didn't erase that away. So now I'm happy with my head, except for the exterior edges, right? So I'm going to save it, and then I'm going to close that folder. And now I'm going to work on the body. Again, internal edges. My body's fairly simple. There's just 3 components. And sometimes you need this. So in the background, I've got these feet. And then I've got a top, but because that's such a harsh thing to transition, I also have this filler piece from a polar bear's neck. Now the first thing I want to do is make the coloring of this top part of the chest, which is really important, match more closely to the head. So I'm going to take that layer. It's this one. And I'm mostly looking at this white fur, and I'm going to start with image adjustments, with levels. And here is a really important place where I'm going to limit the highlights so they're not so bright white. And then I'm going to play with the sliders and decide if I want it brighter or darker. And I think I actually want it brighter just a bit, but limit those highlights. Maybe even darken the shadows a little. So it's subtle, but it means I'm not going to lose out. Oops. On details. Okay, next, after levels, is color balance. And this is going to matter a lot. So I'm going to start with the midtones, and I'm going to push it a little bit towards those magentas that I see in the head. Just a little bit. Away from the blues, towards the reds. Now shadows, I'm going to go more towards these kind of cooler colors. And maybe even a little bit of green. See how that's starting to match a little bit better? And then in highlights, what am I missing? Missing just a little bit of warmth in the yellow. But not too much. Balancing it in the magenta. There we go. Next, hue saturation. Shift it one way or the other. It actually looks like it's better to shift it back like this for those whites. And then I'm going to intensify the color a little bit. So those paws really pop out. Now, how do I transition it? Yeah, it's interesting because the head's overlapping. I have to go to the head layer and find this layer, the jaw. There it is. And now, this is different than the fur and then the mustache. This is a harder edge, that jaw, right? That's bone. So I'm going to use my lasso with a 2-pixel feather. So it's not slipping between the pixels. And then I am going to just draw that edge. I could also use Magic Wand, but this is going to be cleaner and more controlled. And just where I need it, I delete it out. So it's nice and crisp. Okay. Then in these areas where it's fur into fur, whisker into whisker, I find that reference layer right there, and I'm going to use that hard-edged, or soft-edged rather, eraser. 0% hardness, nice and big, 100% opacity. Obliterate that hard edge to start. Okay. Then, I love how those whiskers kind of flow through. And then I'm going to take that opacity way down and just lightly start to transition from one fur texture to the next. And it's going to even impact the mustache a little bit and make that easier to blend in. But I'm not on that layer yet. So you're making a lot of creative decisions. And now if I go to the mustache, let's see, that's not it. Where is it? Yes. When I erase that away, that's going to help. Because now the colors behind it on the body match a little bit better. All right. I'm going to keep blending this out. low opacity, soft edged erasing. And now, for something some of you are dealing with, this mustache has a lot of little undercuts, all those grays. So I'm going to use my magic wand. I'm going to have it unchecked on contiguous, and I'm going to put a feather of just 1 pixel on this magic wand. I'm going to select those grays. And instead of hitting delete, because that's going to erase a lot more than I wanted to, I'm then going to use my soft-edged eraser. And just on the transitions, I'm going to use that selection as a stencil to delete. And sometimes that can work great. I think I lost a little too much in the bottom there, so I'm going to go back in my history. But I can use it at the top here on these grays, which are a little too dark. And that's all I need. All right. Next, the polar bear belly. How do I get that to match? White fur is a great test of your using the direct image adjustments, because this white fur is very yellow and kind of green from the algae where the polar bears live. So when I go to image adjustments, levels, play with the midtones, that can brighten it for me, it can darken it. I have to decide what kind of makes sense. I'm going to limit the highlights a little bit. But then the color balance is going to make a big difference. In fact, this is sometimes called white balance, because it's the tool you would use to get white to look white, no matter the color temperature of the lighting. So I'm going to go to midtones first. I'm going to take out that midtone yellow. Look how effective that is. Was like this. I can bring its white balance back. Then I'm going to add a little bit of magenta into it to match. And maybe that's all I need. And now for the feet. Let's do the full thing. Adjustments, levels. Let's brighten them up. Nice clear feet. Let's limit the highlights a little. And deepen the shadows just a bit. Okay, now image adjustments, color balance, midtones. Let's put some of that cyan back in there. A little of that blue. A little of the magenta. Okay. So now how do we blend them? Same tricks. Now, something I noticed is when I was blending this body, I think last class, I erased a little too much from that claw. And so I need that claw again. And this is why we save our references. So this would be part of the shoulders. It would be this layer. So just bring it in. It was flipped horizontally. And I just want that claw nice and sharp. Unless it's not very clear. Oh, that's the reason. It's not all that clear in the photo. So what am I going to do? I'm going to internally composite. I'm going to steal this claw and the shadow underneath it. Duplicate it. So an example of internal compositing. And then Option Command T in Photo P to get my free transform. Flip it horizontally. And I don't want it to look like the same claw, just copy pasted. So I'm going to take its opacity down as I transform it. Come on. And that helps me see what's underneath. So I can kind of line it up with that claw. And I'm going to warp it. So its claws are slightly different lengths.